Listen carefully. Every dollar you lose, every opportunity you miss, every setback you suffer has one root cause. You are giving your power away not to the economy, not to your boss, not to the market, but to your emotions. Your fear makes you hesitate, your anger makes you react, your greed makes you chase, and every impulsive reaction is a withdrawal from your financial future. This audiobook is the intervention. In the next 90 minutes, I will teach you the one skill that separates the wealthy from the broke: emotional control. When you stop surrendering your decisions to fear and greed, you stop living on accident and start building on purpose. Your emotions are running your life. Starting today, you take the wheel. If you are ready to stop being a victim of your own emotions and start building the life you deserve, subscribe to ImpactIQ right now. Lock it in. Let's get to work. Chapter 1. Stop worshiping your feelings. They are lying to you. Listen closely, because this is the first lie you must kill. You have spent your entire life worshiping your feelings. You trust them, you follow them, you treat them as truth simply because they feel true. But hear me clearly. Your feelings are not facts. Your feelings are not data. Your feelings are not a strategy. Your feelings are ancient software built for a world that no longer exists. They evolved to keep you alive in the jungle, not to make you wealthy in a modern economy. Fear once protected you from predators. Today it kills your opportunities. Anger once warned your tribe of danger. Today it destroys your judgment. Impulse once helped you survive. Today it empties your bank account. You must understand this. From this moment forward, you stop treating your emotions like guidance. You start treating them like noise, because that's what they are. Feelings lie, data leads. Say it again. Feelings lie, data leads. Let me show you how expensive your emotions truly are. Picture an investor, a good one, smart, experienced, skilled. He has a long-term strategy. He has a diversified portfolio. He has a plan. But one morning, he wakes up with a feeling of unease. Nothing happened. No new data, no new report, no shift in fundamentals, just a feeling. And because he worships that feeling, he reacts. He sells a position he was supposed to hold for another decade. He sells it for safety. He sells it because something just feels off. 12 months later, that stock has doubled. His feeling cost him millions. This is not a story about the market. This is a story about your life. How many opportunities have you sold too early? How many relationships have you sabotaged because something felt wrong? How many decisions have you avoided because fear felt like truth? Your entire life is littered with the price tag of emotional decision-making. That's the key. Your emotions are the weather. Your strategy is the climate. The weather changes every hour. The climate stays stable for decades. If you keep living according to the weather, you will keep abandoning the climate you're trying to build. You have a choice. You can keep reacting to emotional weather patterns, or you can commit to the climate of your long-term vision. Your emotions want you to be safe. Your wealth wants you strategic. You cannot serve both. Now let's talk psychology. Your brain is not trying to make you successful. Your brain is trying to make you comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of mastery. Your brain hates uncertainty. It hates risk. It hates discomfort. So when you face anything unfamiliar, your feelings scream. Not because you are in danger, but because your brain wants the easiest path, not the right path. This is why you panic during market dips. This is why you avoid difficult conversations. This is why you self-sabotage when things start going well. Your feelings are not warning you, they are limiting you. You don't need their permission, you don't need their approval. You don't need to feel confident before you act. Confidence is the reward, not the requirement. Listen carefully. If you only take action when you feel ready, you will live your entire life unprepared. If you only pursue opportunities when they feel comfortable, you will never leave your comfort zone. And if you only make decisions when your emotions agree, you are not leading your life. Your emotions are. That stops today. Here is the core discipline of this chapter. Feel it, but don't follow it. Feel the fear. Do not follow the fear. Feel the doubt. Do not follow the doubt. Feel the hesitation. Do not follow the hesitation. Emotional mastery is not about shutting off your feelings, it's about refusing to obey them. So how do you stop worshiping your emotions? You build the habit of separation. You must separate your internal reaction from your external action. This is the discipline that wealthy, powerful, high-performing people practice relentlessly. When a feeling rises, fear, panic, excitement, or greed, you do not act. You observe, you pause, you analyze, you wait for data. You make decisions based on evidence, not adrenaline, because this is the truth. Your emotions represent your past. Your strategy represents your future. One is reactive. One is intentional. You have a choice. Choose your future. Let me give you a concrete instruction. For the next 7 days, every time you feel a strong emotion, fear, anger, excitement, or urgency, you perform one action. You write it down. You write, "I feel, but I am not acting until I see the data." This single discipline will change your life. Why? Because journaling creates separation. Separation creates clarity. Clarity creates power. You don't need to feel powerful to act powerfully. You need discipline. It's not about your fear, it's about your focus. It's not about your impulse, it's about your plan. Let's return to our repetition anchor. This must burn into your identity. Feel it, but don't follow it. That is emotional authority. That is strategic discipline. That is how you stop letting your past run your future. Because understand this, every time you follow an emotion, you reinforce it. Every time you resist an emotion, you retrain it. You are rewiring your brain every moment you choose strategy over sensation. You have a choice. You can live like the investor who gives away millions because of a feeling. Or you can live like the strategist who sticks to the plan and lets discipline compound. Your emotions are allowed to exist. They are not allowed to vote. They can speak. They cannot decide. You hear them, but you don't obey them. That is the mark of a leader. That is the mark of a builder. That is the mark of someone ready for wealth. You mastered the first truth. Your feelings are not facts. Your feelings are not a strategy. Your feelings are not the authority. You are the authority. And now that you understand the lie of emotional truth, now that you understand your feelings are noise, not navigation, you are ready for the next step in emotional wealth mastery. You are ready to learn the art of distance. You are ready to create space between stimulus and response, and reclaim the power that emotional people lose every single day. You mastered the lie. Now master the distance. Chapter 2. Detach or stay broke. Your wealth depends on distance. Let's get something straight. Your lack of emotional distance is costing you money. Every day, every deal, every decision. You are too close to your thoughts, too close to your fear, too close to the moment. You suffocate your own clarity by refusing to step back. You must understand this. Wealth requires distance. Distance from emotion, distance from noise, distance from chaos, distance from the story in your head. Because when you are too close to a moment, you drown in it. You don't see the full picture. You don't see the long term, you only see the fear in your face. And fear, when it's close, feels like truth. But when you take a step back, fear becomes what it really is, a temporary distortion. This chapter is simple. If you cannot detach emotionally, you cannot make rational decisions. If you cannot detach, you cannot see the opportunity hiding behind your anxiety. And if you cannot detach, you stay broke. That's the key. Detachment is not coldness. Detachment is clarity. Detachment is power. Detachment is survival in a world where reactive people get eaten alive. Let me give you a real example. A startup founder raises capital. He finally has money in the bank. He finally has pressure from investors. And because he is so emotionally attached to his idea, he refuses to pivot. The market is telling him no, but his emotions are screaming yes. He clings, he fights, he resists the feedback, and the company dies. Not because the idea was bad, because the founder was too close to it to see reality. Attachment kills strategy. Attachment blinds reason. Attachment makes you defensive instead of effective. Now compare that to the disciplined entrepreneur, the one who built a process of emotional distance. The market shifts, he adapts. Feedback arrives, he evaluates. Same idea, same pressure, same circumstances, different outcome. The difference is distance. You have a choice. Stay reactive, stay attached, stay broke, or detach and see clearly. Let's go deeper. Your brain has a glitch, a survival glitch. It confuses intensity with importance. The emotion you feel most strongly is the one your brain assumes must be true. But your strongest emotions are usually the worst advisors. They are primal, they are instinctive, they are outdated. When something triggers you to panic, feel angry, or feel urgent, your body reacts before your mind thinks, your adrenaline spikes, your heart races. And in that state, your brain isn't analyzing. Your brain is surviving. You cannot build wealth in a survival state. You cannot negotiate intelligently in a survival state. You cannot make strategic decisions in a survival state. You can only react. That's the problem. And detachment is the solution. Detachment is the space between stimulus and response. Detachment is the ability to say, I feel something, but I am not that something. I feel fear, but I am not fear. I feel urgency, but urgency is not truth. This is how wealthy people think. They see the emotion, but they don't merge with it. They observe the feeling, but they don't obey it. Detach, and you take control. Stay attached, and your emotions are your boss. You don't need their permission to create distance. You don't need to justify stepping back from the moment. Distance is not a weakness. Distance is intelligence. Let me show you exactly how detachment plays out in the real world. Scenario 1. Investing. You see a dip in the market. Your emotions scream, sell, run, escape. Distance lets you zoom out. You see the 5-year trend. You see the fundamentals. You see that dips are discounts. Distance transforms panic into opportunity. Scenario 2. Negotiation. Your ego gets triggered. You feel insulted by a low offer. Your pride wants to snap back or walk away. Distance reminds you, this is not personal. This is positioning. Distance keeps you strategic instead of emotional. Scenario 3. Relationships. Someone criticizes your decision at work. You feel attacked. You want to defend yourself. You want to react. Distance allows you to ask, is this feedback useful? Is there truth here? Detachment turns offense into data. Distance is not emotional avoidance. Distance is emotional intelligence. And here's the system wealthy people use. It's simple, it's practical, it's repeatable. The 3-step detachment framework. Name the feeling. I feel anger. I feel fear. I feel urgency. Naming creates separation. Pause for 10 seconds. The pause interrupts reflexive action. This is the reset button. Ask, what does the data say? Not your story, not your fear, not your assumptions, the data. This is how you begin rewiring your mind. Because it's not about suppressing emotion, it's about refusing to let emotion drive the car. You have a choice. You can keep letting your emotions sit in the driver's seat, or you can move them to the passenger seat and take the wheel. Now listen. Detachment does not mean disengagement. Detachment does not mean apathy. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you care strategically. It means you care with clarity. It means you protect your power instead of giving it away. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. Most people are not suffering from a lack of opportunity. They suffer from emotional closeness. They are suffocating inside their own reactions. They cannot see the situation because they are too busy feeling it. Feeling is human. Following the feeling is optional. And that's the key. You must create the emotional distance that allows your rational mind to work, because without that distance, you will always act impulsively. You will always act reactively. You will always act from fear, ego, or insecurity. There is a reason the best leaders, the best investors, the best negotiators all have one thing in common. They are calm. Not because they feel calm, but because they have built the discipline of distance. Calm is not an emotion. Calm is a strategy. Calm is a decision. Calm is the natural outcome of detachment. You have a choice. Remain enslaved to the moment. Or step back and see the whole picture. Stay attached to emotion. Or attach yourself to the mission. Detach, and you rise. Stay attached, and you fall. You have learned the truth. Your feelings lie. And now you've learned the skill. Distance reveals reality. Next, we must discuss the tool that enables detachment. A tool so simple yet so powerful that it changes your decision-making instantly. You mastered distance. Now you master the moment. Chapter 3. Master the pause. Your reaction is your ruin. Stop for a moment. Notice what your mind wants to do right now. It wants to rush. It wants to react. It wants to move. Because reacting feels like control. But reacting is the opposite of control. Emotional people react. Wealthy people pause. This is the chapter where everything begins to shift. This is the chapter where you learn the discipline that separates amateurs from professionals, poor performers from peak performers, emotional decision makers from strategic executors. The pause. It sounds simple, it sounds small, but it is the difference between chaos and clarity, between impulse and intelligence, between losing everything and building a life you control. You must engrave this on your identity. Your reaction is your ruin. Your pause is your power. You have spent years reacting. Reacting to fear, reacting to stress, reacting to pressure, reacting to other people's urgency. But every time you react instantly, you give away your authority. You hand over your decision-making to whatever emotion happens to be loudest in the moment. That stops now. Let me show you why the pause is so powerful. When your brain perceives a threat, financial loss, criticism, uncertainty, or risk, your nervous system triggers a survival response. Your heart rate jumps. Your adrenaline spikes. Your thinking becomes narrow. You shift from strategic to primitive. You stop evaluating, you start reacting. But the threat your brain detects is almost never real. You're not being hunted. You're not in danger. You're not fighting for survival. You're just uncomfortable, and your brain cannot tell the difference. So it treats discomfort like danger. It demands action. It demands a reaction. It demands movement. The pause interrupts that entire chain. The pause saves you from your primitive brain. The pause returns you to your strategic self. Without the pause, you are a slave. With the pause, you are a leader. That's the key. Let's look at real-world examples. Example 1, the negotiator. A potential client throws out a lowball offer. The emotional person reacts, "That number is insulting." They start defending. They start arguing. They lose leverage instantly. The disciplined negotiator does something different. They pause. They breathe. They let the silence do the work. And because they pause, they force the other person to speak first, revealing more information and surrendering power. The pause is not passive. The pause is tactical. Example 2, the entrepreneur. A team member makes a mistake. The emotional founder reacts. They snap. They criticize. They shame. They think they're being strong, but they're being weak. They're reacting out of insecurity, not out of leadership. The disciplined founder pauses. They let the emotional spike pass. They respond strategically. What caused this mistake? How do we prevent it? What's the next step? The pause turns conflict into clarity. Example 3, the investor. The market drops 5% in a single day. The emotional investor reacts, "Sell everything." They make the worst decision at the worst time. The disciplined investor pauses. They zoom out. They ask, "What does the long-term data say?" The fundamentals haven't changed. This is noise, not a signal. The pause protects their wealth. Reacting is emotional. Pausing is strategic. You have a choice. You can follow the reaction, or you can master the pause. Now let me teach you the mechanics. The pause is not hesitation. Hesitation is fear. The pause is control. The pause is not avoidance. Avoidance is insecurity. The pause is a strategy. The pause is a deliberate interruption of the emotional reflex. When you pause, even for 3 seconds, your brain shifts from the emotional amygdala to the rational prefrontal cortex. That is not philosophy, that is neuroscience. You literally switch operating systems. You move from survival mode to executive mode, from instinct to intelligence, from panic to power. And once your mind shifts, you can think, you can evaluate, you can decide, you can lead. But how do you build this discipline? You train it. Here is the 3-step pause protocol. Use it every day. Use it in business. Use it at home. Use it in every conversation where the stakes matter. 1, the breath. When the emotion spikes, you breathe. Slow, deep, low. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 2. Exhale for 6. This kills the adrenaline spike. This restores cognitive power. This forces your emotional brain to sit down and shut up, because you don't need your emotions to lead. You need your discipline. 2, the question. While you pause, you ask one of the following questions. What does the data say? What is the goal here? What outcome am I actually trying to achieve? Questions force your brain to shift gears. Questions pull you out of emotion and into analysis. Questions turn heat into clarity. 3, the decision. Only after breathing. Only after questioning. Do you act? Not before, not during. After. This is how professionals operate. Not emotionally, not impulsively, not reactively, strategically. The pause is not a weakness, the pause is authority. You don't need to feel calm to act calmly. Calm is not a feeling, calm is a choice. Calm is a practice skill. Calm is the byproduct of pausing. Let me tell you something uncomfortable but true. Most people react instantly because they want relief, not results. They want to end the discomfort quickly, not make the right decision. Reaction is relief. Pause is power. You have a choice. Chase relief or create results. The emotional mind wants relief. The disciplined mind wants outcomes. Which one are you training? Now listen, your pause will create discomfort in others. People who rely on your instant reactions will hate your new discipline. They will push. They will pressure. They will demand immediacy. Ignore them. You don't need their permission to take your time. You don't need their approval to make a mature decision. Their urgency is not your obligation. Their panic is not your problem. You are not here to be quick. You are here to be effective. You must train this until it becomes automatic. Pause when you feel insulted. Pause when you feel attacked. Pause when something feels urgent. Pause when you feel tempted. Pause when you feel pressured. Pause when your ego wants to react. Reacting is your ruin. Pausing is your power. Say it again. Say it until it becomes your identity. Say it until it becomes your instinct. Because once you master the pause, you stop being a slave to the moment. You stop being owned by your emotions. You stop being manipulated by urgency, fear, or pressure. You become untouchable. You become immovable. You become a leader. You now understand distance. You now understand the pause. But there is still one enemy you must defeat. The stories your mind invents when your emotions are loud. You mastered your reaction. Now you must master your narrative. Chapter 4. Kill the story, keep the strategy. There is a voice in your head that has been sabotaging you for years. A voice that sounds like truth. A voice that feels like logic. A voice that seems rational, even protective, but it is the most destructive force in your life. It's not your fear. It's not your doubt. It's not your stress. It's your story. Your mind builds stories around every fear, every challenge, every failure, every moment of uncertainty. And those stories feel real because they trigger emotion. But emotion does not make something true. Emotion makes something believable. And there is a difference. You must understand this. Your stories shape your behavior long before reality ever does. If the story in your mind is wrong, every decision that follows will be wrong. That's the key. Stories are not reflections of reality. Stories are reactions to fear. Stories are distortions. Stories are lies you repeat so often that you mistake them for truth. Let me give you an example. You send a proposal to a client. They don't respond for 3 hours. Immediately, your mind creates a story. They didn't like it. I overpriced it. I blew the opportunity. They probably chose someone else. None of this is data. None of this is evidence. It's a story. It's fiction. Meanwhile, the client was just in a meeting. Your entire emotional spiral was based on an illusion. But because the story felt real, you reacted as if it were real. You doubted yourself. You questioned your decision. You weakened your posture. You followed a lie as if it were a fact. That is the danger, not the moment. The meaning you attach to the moment. Human beings don't react to reality. We react to the story we tell ourselves about reality. Let me make it even clearer. A setback happens. A delay happens. A problem appears, and instantly, automatically, your brain writes a script. This always happens. Nothing ever works out. I'm not good enough. This was a bad idea. I knew it. The story becomes the prison. The story becomes the cage. The story becomes the reason you hesitate, quit, or collapse. But here is the truth. The story is optional. The strategy is not. This chapter is about one thing: killing the story so you can follow the strategy. You have a choice. You can keep believing the story, or you can follow the plan. Let's go deeper. Your brain hates uncertainty. So when it doesn't have the whole picture, it fills the gaps. But it never fills those gaps with success. It fills them with fear. It fills them with disaster. It fills them with worst-case scenarios. This is an evolutionary glitch. Your ancestors needed to assume danger to survive. But you are not surviving lions and cliffs. You are surviving emails and meetings. Your brain is catastrophizing mild discomfort as an existential threat. That story must be destroyed. You must train yourself to notice the story the second it begins. You must catch it, name it, and dismantle it. Here is the discipline. When your emotions rise, your story lies. The louder the emotion, the less you can trust the story. The more intense the feeling, the more distorted the narrative. That's the rule. And it will save you years of self-sabotage. Let's break it down with a real-world pattern you've lived 1,000 times. Scenario: delayed feedback. Someone doesn't respond to you fast enough. Your brain writes a story. They're ignoring me. They're upset. I messed something up. This story triggers stress. Stress triggers a reaction. Reaction triggers bad decision-making. But what is the reality? You don't know. You have zero data. Your story is fiction. And fiction is not a foundation for wealth. Scenario: early mistakes. You make a small mistake. You forgot a detail. You misjudge a timeline. Instantly, your brain tells a story. This entire project is falling apart. That mistake proves I'm not ready. I knew this would happen. Number: stop. That's a story, not a strategy. Scenario: financial risk. You invest time, money, or effort into something meaningful. Fear rises, so your brain creates a narrative to justify the panic. It's too risky. It's too early. It's not the right time. A story disguised as wisdom. A lie disguised as logic. If you follow the story, your future dies. If you follow the strategy, your future grows. You have a choice. Believe the story or execute the plan. Now let me teach you the weapon that destroys the story every time. Evidence. Stories collapse when confronted with data. Data is the enemy of emotional fiction. Here's the 4-step method to kill the story. 1. Recognize the story. Ask, what narrative am I creating right now? This question exposes the script your mind is writing. 2. Challenge the story. Ask, what evidence do I actually have? Evidence is rarely emotional. Evidence is almost always neutral. 3. Replace the story. Choose a new narrative aligned with strategy. What else could be true? What is the practical explanation? What is the strategic meaning? 4. Return to execution. Anchor yourself to the plan. Your strategy is your compass. Your story is a storm cloud. Ignore the cloud. Follow the compass. This is where power starts. When you stop believing the stories your mind invents in moments of fear, hesitation, or uncertainty, you become unstoppable. Because understand this, most people lose not because the situation defeats them, but because the story in their mind defeats them first. You must choose differently. You must think differently. You must operate differently. And here is the mantra of this chapter. Facts build fortunes. Stories build chaos. Say it again. Say it until your brain stops writing fiction. Say it until strategy becomes your instinct. Facts build fortunes. Stories build chaos. You have learned emotional distance. You have learned the pause. You have now learned to kill the story. But there is still a deeper cost you must face: the financial cost of your emotions. Not abstract, not psychological, mathematical, measurable, destructive. You mastered the narrative. Now you must master the cost. Chapter 5. Emotions are expensive. Audit their financial cost. You think your emotions are harmless. You think feeling anxious, stressed, or overwhelmed is normal. You think a moment of panic, a flash of anger, a spike of fear is just part of life. Number. Your emotions cost you money. Real money. Big money, generational money, and until you see the price tag attached to every emotional decision you make, you will keep making them. This chapter exists for one purpose: to show you the financial destruction caused by emotional reactions. Once you see the numbers, you will never let your emotions lead you again. Let's begin with a simple truth. There is no such thing as an emotionally neutral decision. Every emotionally driven choice either steals from your future or steals from your potential. You already know this instinctively. You felt it. You've lived it. You've paid for it. You paid for it in missed opportunities. You paid for it in bad deals. You paid for it in ruined negotiations. You paid for it in premature selling. You paid for it in overthinking. You paid for it in underperformance. Every emotional decision has a bill. And now it's time to open the ledger. Let me walk you through the emotional costs you've been ignoring. Cost number 1, panic selling. Real wealth lost forever. You've seen this. You may have done this. The market dips, your heart rate spikes, and you sell. Not because the fundamentals changed, not because the data changed, not because your long-term strategy changed, but because your emotion changed. Imagine you panic sell at a 15% dip, then the asset rebounds, rising 40% the next year. Your emotional reaction didn't just cost you that dip, it cost you more. It cost you the entire rebound. It cost you the compounding of that rebound for the next 10 years. This is not hypothetical, this is mathematical. A single emotional sale can cost you 6 figures, even 7 figures over time. Emotions don't just cost you money today, they rob your future. Cost number 2, impulse buying. Paying a premium for panic. Fear makes you sell too soon. Greed makes you buy too late. How many times have you bought something simply because you felt like you were missing out? You bought high because everyone else was excited. You bought high because your greed said if you don't get in now, you'll lose everything. Then the price drops. And once again, your emotions hand you the bill. Emotionally driven buying decisions almost always occur at peaks, not valleys. You pay for panic. You pay for pressure. You pay for feeling left behind. This is the emotional tax of impulsive greed. Cost number 3, emotional negotiation. Losing leverage, losing profit. Here is what happens when your ego gets involved in a negotiation. You become reactive. You become defensive. You become predictable. Your emotions make you easy to manipulate. If someone can trigger you, they can control you. If someone can provoke you, they can price you. Emotional negotiation costs you lower prices, worse terms, lost deals, damaged relationships, a reputation for instability. A calm negotiator earns more. A reactive negotiator pays more. Your reaction literally changes the numbers. Cost number 4, avoidance, the silent killer of wealth. Avoidance feels safe. Avoidance feels comfortable. Avoidance feels like protection. But avoidance is one of the most expensive emotional behaviors you have. Avoiding hard conversations, hard decisions, hard tasks, hard truths. It all compounds into one brutal cost: missed opportunity. Avoidance is the reason you didn't ask for the raise. Avoidance is the reason you didn't pitch the client. Avoidance is the reason you didn't invest earlier. Avoidance is the reason you didn't take the risk you knew you needed to take. Avoidance doesn't show up on a bank statement, but it absolutely shows up in your life results. There is a price for doing the wrong thing, but there is an even bigger price for doing nothing. Cost number 5, overthinking, the interest rate on inaction. Overthinking feels responsible, it feels careful, it feels intelligent, but overthinking has a cost, a massive cost. Overthinking delays action, and delayed action always costs you money. The promotion you didn't pursue, the business you didn't start, the opportunity you overanalyzed until it expired. Overthinking is emotional avoidance disguised as logic, and you have paid dearly for it. The longer you hesitate, the higher the price climbs. Cost number 6, stress and burnout, the hidden expense of emotional exhaustion. Stress drains your energy. Low energy destroys your performance. Destroyed performance destroys your income. Stress is not free, burnout is not free. They reduce your output. They reduce your discipline. They reduce your focus. They reduce your earning potential. Emotionally exhausted people make emotional decisions. Emotionally disciplined people make profitable decisions. You have a choice. Now let's break down the core principle of this chapter. Emotion is financial leakage. Discipline is financial leverage. Say it again. Say it until it replaces your old patterns. Say it until it becomes your instinct. Emotion is financial leakage. Discipline is financial leverage. The only way to stop the leakage is to audit it. You cannot fix what you will not face. So here is your assignment, the emotional financial audit. For the next 72 hours, track every emotional decision you make, big or small. Write down what you felt, what you wanted to do, what you did. And what does it cost you? You will be shocked. You will see the price of every overreaction, every moment of panic, every impulse, every emotional distraction, every delay, every hesitation. The emotional bill becomes undeniable. Emotion is expensive. Emotion is weak. Emotion is directionless. Discipline is decisive. Discipline is profitable. Discipline is powerful. You must choose discipline over drama, execution over emotion, strategy over story, facts over feelings. This is the turning point. You now see the price of your emotional patterns. You now see the cost of living reactively. You now see the financial reality behind emotional impulses. You mastered the story. Now you've mastered the cost. Next, you will master something deeper. The emotional triggers that create these expensive reactions. This is where transformation becomes permanent. You understand the cost. Now you eliminate the source. Chapter 6, train your trigger points before they cost you thousands. You already know your emotions are expensive, but here is the deeper truth. Your emotions are not random. They follow patterns, predictable patterns, repeating patterns. Patterns so consistent that you can predict exactly when you will sabotage yourself next. These patterns are your triggers. A trigger is not the emotion. A trigger is the spark. A trigger is the moment that activates your emotional reflex. And until you learn to identify, train, and control these triggers, they will keep controlling you. This chapter is about taking back control of your emotional operating system. Not by suppressing emotions, not by ignoring them, but by training the exact moments that create them. You have a choice. Train your triggers, or pay for them. Let's begin with a simple truth. Triggers thrive in the unconscious. They die in the conscious. The reason triggers control you is because you don't see them happening. You only feel the explosion, the anger, the panic, the anxiety, not the spark. But once you identify the spark, the emotional explosion loses its power. Let me show you the 5 most common trigger points that cost people thousands of dollars, years of progress, and mountains of confidence. Trigger number 1, feeling disrespected. This is one of the most expensive triggers in the world. Someone gives you feedback, someone questions your idea, someone pushes back, someone didn't respond as you wanted. Your ego flares. Your pride activates. You react, not because the situation requires it, but because you felt disrespected. This trigger ruins negotiations. It destroys partnerships. It makes you say things you can't unsay. It makes you walk away from opportunities you should have stayed in. You must train this trigger, because feeling disrespected is an emotion, not a fact. You have a choice. Feel it, but don't follow it. Trigger number 2, uncertainty and ambiguity. Your brain hates the unknown. So every time you enter a situation without clarity, a new project, a new investment, a new conversation, your emotional system activates survival mode. This is why you overthink. This is why you procrastinate. This is why you stall on decisions that would change your life. Your trigger isn't the task. Your trigger is the uncertainty. So what is the discipline? You build clarity before you build action. You define the next step before the whole plan. You shrink the unknown into something you can move toward. That's the key. You don't need full clarity. You only need the next clarity. Trigger number 3, loss of control. This is the trigger that ruins the performance of leaders, parents, founders, executives, and anyone with responsibility. When things fall outside your control, such as delays, unexpected obstacles, and other people's decisions, your emotional system panics. You feel threatened, you feel exposed, you feel vulnerable. And that vulnerability drives impulsive decisions that cost you money and credibility. Here is the truth. You don't need control. You need composure. Composure is power. Composure is leadership, and composure is wealth. You have a choice. Lose control or lead yourself. Trigger number 4, urgency and time pressure. This trigger is one of the most dangerous. Other people use it to manipulate you. Can you do this right now? I need a decision immediately. This opportunity expires soon. This is urgent. And you react. You jump. You rush. You decide quickly instead of wisely. Urgency destroys clarity. Urgency hijacks your judgment. Urgency pushes you into bad decisions. What is the discipline? Slow down when things speed up. Pause longer under pressure. Ask for time even when it feels uncomfortable. Urgency is a trap. The pause is your escape. Trigger number 5, fear of judgment. This is the root trigger behind most hesitation. You delay because you fear being criticized. You avoid because you fear looking foolish. You hold back because you fear someone's opinion. Fear of judgment is so expensive because it makes you self-censor your best ideas. It makes you shrink your presence. It makes you avoid opportunities. It keeps you small. But here's the truth. People are not judging you. They are too busy judging themselves. You don't need their permission to move. You only need your decision. Kill this trigger, and you unlock the next level of your life. Now that you know your triggers, you must train yourself to manage them. And training triggers are not emotional work, it is behavioral work, not therapy. Training. Here is the trigger training framework used by high-performance athletes, military operators, and elite CEOs. 1. Identify the trigger moment. You cannot train what you cannot see. Your job is to notice the exact moment when the spark happens. Not the emotion, the moment before the emotion. Someone interrupts you? Trigger moment. Do you receive criticism? Trigger moment. You see a market shift? Trigger moment. Someone says urgent, trigger moment. You must catalog these moments like a scientist. 2. Pause the automatic reaction. The instant you recognize a trigger, you pause. You interrupt the emotional reflex. You breathe. You break the pattern. Once the trigger passes unchallenged, the emotion takes over. The pause stops the emotional takeover. 3. Insert a trained replacement action. Triggers do not disappear. You replace them. You teach your brain a new routine. Feel disrespected? Ask a clarifying question. Feel urgency. Say, "I'll follow up shortly." Feel uncertainty? Define the next step only. Feel out of control? Focus on one controllable action. Feel judged? Move anyway. This is trigger training. This is emotional conditioning. This is how professionals operate. 4. Repeat until your response becomes automatic. This is not a one-time correction. This is a rewiring process. Each repetition weakens the trigger and strengthens your discipline. When your response becomes automatic, you have mastered emotional control. You don't need to eliminate the trigger, you only need to eliminate the reaction. Let me make this simple. Your triggers are predictable. Your reactions are predictable. Your self-sabotage is predictable, which means your transformation is predictable. Train the trigger. Change the behavior. Change the behavior. Change the result. Change the result. Change your life. You have a choice. Stay emotionally reactive or become emotionally trained. Your future depends on this. You now understand the patterns behind your emotions. You now understand the mechanics of your reactions. You now understand how to interrupt and rewire the trigger. But now we go deeper into the wealthy's mindset. Because emotional control is not just about avoiding mistakes. It's about creating maximum advantage. You mastered the trigger. Now you must master the mindset. Chapter 7. Build the wealth mindset. Act, don't react. Let's make something very clear. You cannot build wealth with a reactive mind. Reactive minds chase. Reactive minds panic. Reactive minds overthink. Reactive minds follow whatever emotion is loudest in the moment. And loud emotions are terrible leaders. If you want wealth, real wealth, you must build a mindset based on action, not reaction. Because wealth is not built through emotional management. Wealth is built through strategic execution. This chapter marks the transition from emotional survival to emotional leadership. You must internalize this truth. Reactive people survive. Proactive people succeed. Say it again. Reactive people survive. Proactive people succeed. And you have been stuck in survival mode for too long. Survival mode is why you wait. Survival mode is why you hesitate. Survival mode is why you stay small, stay safe, stay predictable. But survival mode cannot build anything. Survival mode cannot grow anything. Survival mode cannot multiply anything. This is the breakthrough. Wealth is not the reward of brilliance. Wealth is the reward of consistent strategic action. You act, you build, you execute, you repeat. That is the wealth mindset. But before we build it, you must confront one truth. You have been building your life with emotional reactions, not strategic decisions. And every emotional reaction has taken you farther away from your goals. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're incapable. It's because your mindset has been wired for reaction, not for action. Let's break that wiring. We begin with the 3 emotional defaults that keep you reactive: fear, comfort, distraction. And if you don't train these 3, they will keep controlling your decisions. 1. Fear, the reaction that freezes your potential. Fear does not stop you from acting. Fear stops you from starting. Fear freezes your first step. Fear makes you ask, what if it goes wrong? Instead of, what if this transforms my life? Reactive minds wait for fear to disappear before they act. But wealthy minds know fear never disappears. So they act anyway. This is the shift. Fear is not a stop sign. Fear is a starting line. Every big opportunity begins with fear. Every breakthrough begins with uncertainty. Every risk that changes your life feels uncomfortable at first. Action kills fear. Reaction feeds it. 2. Comfort, the reaction that shrinks your ambition. Comfort feels good. Comfort feels safe. Comfort feels familiar. But comfort is lethal. Comfort traps you in loops of repetition. Comfort forces you to prioritize ease over growth. Comfort keeps you emotionally numb, financially stagnant, and mentally unchallenged. Comfort is the enemy of wealth. Not because comfort is wrong, but because comfort prevents movement. Reactive minds seek comfort first. Wealthy minds seek progress first. You have a choice: comfort or growth. You cannot have both. 3. Distraction, the reaction that steals your focus. Distraction is not accidental, it is reactive. Every notification, every message, every request, every fire that needs you is a trigger. Most people react instantly, and their entire day is hijacked by others' priorities. You know this cycle well. You sit down to work on a high-value task, you get interrupted, your focus breaks, your momentum drops, your mind shifts, and the work never gets done. Reactive minds let the world pull them. Wealthy minds pull the world toward their priorities. Here is the truth. Distraction is not about attention. Distraction is about identity. A reactive identity is easy to interrupt. A wealth identity is non-negotiable. Now let's build the mindset of someone who acts, not reacts. Because the wealthy do not wait. They initiate, they decide, they move, they execute. They don't wait for clarity. They create clarity. They don't wait for motivation. They create momentum. They don't wait for perfect timing. They create opportunity. This is the wealth mindset. Let me give you the 4 pillars that define it. Pillar 1, purpose over impulse. You no longer make decisions based on what you feel in the moment. You make decisions based on your long-term purpose. Ask yourself, does this action move me toward my vision? If the answer is no, you don't do it. If the answer is yes, you execute relentlessly. Your purpose becomes the filter. Your purpose becomes the anchor. Your purpose becomes the driver. Impulse loses its power when purpose takes the wheel. Pillar 2, discipline over drama. Most people are too emotional to be successful. They let their moods dictate their actions. They let their frustration dictate their day. They let their feelings dictate their effort. Not you, not anymore. You choose discipline over drama. Discipline means you do what must be done, no matter how you feel. Discipline means you execute the plan, even when you don't want to. Discipline means your emotions can complain, but they cannot vote. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is freedom. Pillar 3, systems over willpower. Reactive people depend on willpower. They try to feel motivated. They wait for the right mood. They hope their emotions cooperate. Wealthy minds depend on systems. Systems create consistency. Systems remove friction. Systems remove emotion from the equation. Systems make the right action the default action. When you have systems, your feelings don't matter. The action happens automatically. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Pillar 4, execution over excuses. Reactive minds are full of reasons, excuses, justifications, stories. Wealthy minds are full of execution. They don't explain, they don't justify, they don't wait, they move. You don't need approval, you don't need perfect timing, you don't need emotional permission, you need to execute. That's the key. Execution creates momentum. Momentum creates opportunity. Opportunity creates wealth. Let me give you the practical framework that transforms you from reactive to proactive permanently. This is the Act, Don't React protocol. Step 1, define your daily non-negotiables. Choose 3 actions that matter most, not 10. 3. Your brain needs clarity, not clutter. These are your wealth drivers. These get executed first, no matter what. Step 2. Schedule before you start. A reactive day begins with checking your notifications. A proactive day begins with your calendar. Block your time before the world can claim it. Your schedule is your shield. Step 3, remove emotion from the equation. You act whether you feel ready or not. You act whether you feel motivated or not. You act whether the mood is there or not. Emotion does not decide action. Action decides emotion. Step 4, SWA. Close the loop every day. Nothing piles up, nothing lingers, nothing remains open. Closing loops builds confidence. Open loops build anxiety. Finish what you start. Every day. Here is the truth. Your life changes the moment you stop reacting and start creating. Your life changes the moment you stop waiting and start executing. Your life changes the moment you stop letting emotion choose for you. You have a choice. React or act. You now have the pillars. You now have the protocol. You now have the mindset. But there is still one area where even high performers lose control of the battle between fear and greed. If you cannot master these 2 forces, they will pull you off your strategy every time. You mastered the mindset. Now you master the extremes. Chapter 8. Become emotionally ambidextrous. Control both fear and greed. You've mastered the pause. You've mastered the story. You've mastered the mindset. But now we enter the most dangerous territory in emotional wealth psychology, the battlefield of fear and greed. These are the 2 forces that ruin fortunes. They ruin businesses. They ruin careers. They ruin relationships. They ruin potential. Not because they are powerful, but because you never learn to control both at the same time. You see, most people try to conquer fear. Some people try to conquer greed, but almost no one tries to conquer both. And that's why almost no one becomes wealthy. Fear makes you freeze. Greed makes you charge blindly. Fear makes you avoid opportunity. Greed makes you chase bad ones. Fear makes you sell too soon. Greed makes you buy too late. Fear keeps you small. Greed makes you reckless. And both fear and greed destroy your discipline. To build real wealth, you must become emotionally ambidextrous. You must be able to control both hands, both forces, both extremes, because the wealthy do not live in emotional extremes. The wealthy live in strategic balance. Let's break it down. Fear, the first emotion that kills your opportunity. Fear feels protective. Fear feels rational. Fear feels like caution. But fear is almost always a distortion. Fear is the story you tell yourself when you feel unprepared. Fear is the barrier between you and execution. Fear stops you before you begin. Fear comes in many forms. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of losing money, fear of looking foolish, fear of being wrong. But the biggest one? Fear of regret. The fear that says, if this goes wrong, I'll hate myself for it. Here's the truth. You don't regret the actions you took. You regret the opportunities you avoided. Fear creates inaction. Inaction creates regret. Regret destroys your future. And yet, people obey fear as if it's a command. They treat fear like a fact rather than a sensation. You must remember this. Fear is loud. Fear is dramatic. Fear is emotional. Fear is rarely accurate. When fear rises, your job is not to obey it. Your job is to question it. What evidence do I have? What data supports this? What outcome am I trying to create? Fear hates analysis. Fear hates clarity. Fear dissolves when exposed to logic. That's the key. Now let's talk about the other extreme. Greed. Greed does not feel dangerous. Greed feels exciting. Greed feels optimistic. Greed feels urgent. It whispers, "Do it now. Don't miss out. This is your chance. Everyone else is doing it." If fear freezes you, greed speeds you up. Both lead to destruction. Greed makes you overpromise, overextend, overleverage, overestimate your ability, overvalue an opportunity, and underestimate the risk. Greed convinces you that excitement is insight, that adrenaline is intelligence, that urgency is an opportunity. Let me give you a brutal truth. More people have lost fortunes from greed than from fear. Greed makes you ignore red flags. Greed makes you chase shortcuts. Greed makes you abandon discipline. Greed makes you expand too fast. Greed makes you chase highs instead of results. When greed rises, your job is not to indulge it. Your job is to slow down. Your job is to evaluate. Your job is to check your strategy. Greed hates patience. Greed hates structure. Greed hates data. Greed thrives on emotion, not reason. You must learn to control both hands. You must become emotionally ambidextrous. Most people swing from one extreme to the other. Fear, freeze. Greed, chase. Fear, arrow, avoid. Greed, overcommit. They live in a loop of emotional whiplash. They never find stability. They never build consistency. They never accumulate wealth. Because wealth requires one thing above all else: emotional neutrality. When fear rises, you stay grounded. When greed rises, you stay grounded. You don't speed up. You don't slow down. You stay stable. Wealth loves stability. Wealth hates emotion. The Wealth Control Framework: How to Master Both Fear and Greed. Here are the 4 disciplines of emotional ambidexterity. 1. When fear rises, zoom out. Fear traps you in the moment. Fear collapses your timeline. Fear makes a bad day feel like a bad future. The solution? Zoom out. Look at the data. Look at the long-term pattern. Look at the fundamentals. Fear shrinks when perspective expands. 2. When greed rises, slow down. Greed speeds your mind. Greed creates urgency. Greed makes you believe now or never. The solution? Slow everything down. Increase the distance. Pause. Run the numbers. Ask, does this fit my strategy? If the opportunity is real, it will still be real tomorrow. 3. When emotions rise, return to process. Fear disrupts your process. Greed disrupts your process. The solution is always the same. Return to the system. Your process is your anchor. Your process is your compass. Your process is your antidote to emotion. When you follow your system, you override your impulse. 4. When uncertainty rises, follow the plan, not the feeling. Fear says stop. Greed says run. Your strategy says execute the next step. Only the next step. Your plan exists to protect you from your own emotional swings. You don't need to feel confident to follow the plan. You don't need to feel calm to follow the plan. You don't need to feel ready to follow the plan. Feelings are irrelevant. Execution is everything. Emotionally ambidextrous people think differently. Here is how wealthy thinkers operate. Fear says, slow down. The wealthy say, evaluate. Greed says, hurry. The wealthy say, verify. Fear says, avoid risk. The wealthy say, manage risk. Greed says, take everything. The wealthy say, take only what aligns with the plan. Fear focuses on loss. Greed focuses on gain. The wealthy focus on strategy. That's the key. The wealthy never let either extreme dictate behavior. Strategy dictates behavior. You have a choice. Let fear shrink you. Let greed stretch you. Or let strategy stabilize you. You must train your emotional ambidexterity. Practice daily. Observe your extremes. Attack your reactions. Replace them with discipline. Because fear and greed are not your enemies. Your inability to control them is. Now that you've mastered the extremes, it's time to learn the next discipline, the one that wealthy people rely on more than anything else. You mastered fear, you mastered greed. Now you must master stability. Chapter 9, Stability over Stimulation. Choose boring wealth. Let me tell you something most people never understand. Wealth is boring. Not because it lacks excitement, but because it requires consistency. And consistency is boring to emotionally chaotic people. You've been conditioned to believe wealth feels thrilling, that it's fast. That's exciting. It's full of big moves, dramatic moments, high adrenaline, high risk, and high reward. That belief is why most people stay broke. Stimulation destroys wealth. Stability builds it. Say it again. Stimulation destroys wealth. Stability builds it. If you want to build real, durable, long-term wealth, you must fall in love with the boring work, the repetitive work, the predictable work, the unsexy work, the work that emotional people avoid because it doesn't give them a dopamine hit. You must become the kind of person who can do the same high-value behavior every single day, regardless of mood, regardless of motivation, regardless of excitement. Because wealth is not built by what you do once in a while. Wealth is built by what you do consistently. Let's break the illusion. Most people want stimulation, not success. They want emotional fireworks, not financial foundations. They want intensity, not consistency. But intensity burns out, consistency compounds. This is why gamblers lose and investors win. Gamblers want excitement. Investors want stability. This is why drama addicts fail and disciplined leaders rise. Drama addicts chase highs. Disciplined leaders chase direction. This is why emotional people stay broke. And emotionally disciplined people get rich. Let's go deeper. The stimulation trap. Why it keeps you poor. Most people are addicted to stimulation, they just don't realize it. They crave novelty, they crave chaos, they crave emotional spikes. And the financial world punishes that addiction. They change strategies every month, they change goals every week, they change priorities every day. They chase trends, they chase hype, they chase shortcuts. They never stick with anything long enough to master it. They never commit long enough to see results. They never hold long enough for compounding to work. The stimulation trap keeps you jumping, shifting, reacting, and all that bouncing destroys momentum. You cannot build wealth without momentum. And you cannot build momentum without stability. Stimulation kills discipline. Stimulation kills patience. Stimulation kills consistency. That's the key. If it constantly excites you, it will eventually destroy you. Stability. The uncomfortable secret of the wealthy. The wealthiest people are boring. Their routines are boring. Their habits are boring. Their systems are boring. Their discipline is boring. And their results are extraordinary. They do the same things, the same way, with the same deliberate consistency for years. They invest consistently. They execute consistently. They improve consistently. They show up consistently. They understand the truth. Consistency compounds faster than intensity. Let me give you real examples. Example 1, investors. The wealthy investor does not chase the market. He does not day trade his emotions. He does not jump from one hot pick to another. He invests consistently. He holds consistently. He rebalances consistently. The secret: the boring investor outperforms the excitable one. Example 2, entrepreneurs. The emotionally chaotic entrepreneur launches 10 ideas a year, but none of them sustain. The disciplined entrepreneur commits to one direction, one system, one strategy, and executes for 10 years. Guess who wins? Always the one who chooses stability over stimulation. Example 3, high earners. The reactive professional pushes hard for a week, then burns out for a month. The stable professional operates at a consistent level every day, not explosive, not dramatic, just reliable. Guess who gets promoted? Guess who becomes indispensable? Guess who scales their income? The stable one. Stability is leverage. Stability is an advantage. Stability is rare. Stability is power. You have a choice. Chase the feeling or build the foundation. Why does boring feel wrong to you? Let's address something important. You resist boredom because boredom feels wrong. It feels too slow, too predictable, too quiet. Your brain wants stimulation. Your emotions want stimulation. Your ego wants stimulation. Your nervous system is addicted to novelty. It interprets calm as boredom. It interprets boredom as danger, and it interprets danger as do something else. This is why you sabotage long-term consistency. Not because consistency is hard, but because consistency doesn't feel good. But wealthy people understand something you don't. Yet, you don't have to feel good to perform well. Let me repeat it. You don't have to feel good to perform well. You only have to show up. Boring is the birthplace of mastery. Boring is the birthplace of leverage. Boring is the birthplace of generational success. You must rewire your relationship with boredom. You must see boredom as a signal of progress, not a sign to change direction. The Stability Protocol. How to train boring wealth. Here's how you rewire yourself to choose stability over stimulation. 1. Choose one wealth path and commit to it for 10 years. Not 10 days, not 10 weeks, 10 years. One business model, one investment strategy, one mission, one direction. You do not pivot because of boredom. You pivot because of data. 2. Build rhythms, not sprints. Your systems must run daily. Your disciplines must run weekly. Your goals must run monthly. Same time, same process, same energy. A rhythm is an identity. A sprint is a mood. 3. Track consistency, not emotion. Stop asking yourself how you feel. Start asking yourself what you executed. Track the behaviors, not the emotions. Track the actions, not the inspiration. Consistency is the scoreboard. Emotion is noise. 4. Reward boring, not stimulating. Every time you follow the plan, reward it. Every time you stick with the system, reward it. Every time you choose discipline over excitement, reward it. Your brain will follow the reinforcement. 5. Delete high stimulation inputs. Too much news, too much noise, too many comparisons, too much hype. These inputs train your brain for chaos, not consistency. Cut them. Protect your calm. This is your new reality. Wealth is not built by emotional bursts. Wealth is built by boring consistency. Nothing is exciting about a daily execution, weekly planning, monthly review, long-term commitment, compounding, focus, discipline. But these boring behaviors are what make wealthy people wealthy. You have been living in a world that celebrates stimulation. Now you must become someone who celebrates stability. You don't need more highs, you need more discipline. You don't need more motivation, you need more consistency. You don't need more excitement, you need more repetition. That's the key. You mastered the extremes. Now you've mastered the foundation. Next, you will learn the final shift, the shift that changes everything about your personal power and your financial authority. You understand the value of stability. Now you become the source of it. Chapter 10. Lead yourself first. Emotional authority. Financial authority. If you want wealth, if you wish to power, if you wish to control over your life, you must understand one truth. You cannot lead others until you can lead yourself. And you cannot lead yourself until you own your emotions. We spent this entire audiobook training you to control your reactions, your impulses, your triggers, your stories, your fear, your greed, your distractions, and your habits. That wasn't just emotional training. That was leadership training. Because emotional authority and leadership authority are the same. A leader without emotional control is dangerous. A leader controlled by emotion is unstable. A leader driven by impulse is unpredictable. And people do not follow instability. People do not trust unpredictability. People do not align with emotional chaos. They follow confidence. They follow calm. They follow consistency. They follow clarity. All of which comes from emotional mastery. This chapter is about becoming the person others look to, not because you demand respect, but because you embody stability. You must understand this. Your ability to manage your emotions is the foundation for managing your wealth. Wealth does not obey the emotional. Wealth obeys the disciplined. Wealth follows the steady. Wealth compounds for the consistent. You must become the source of stability in your own life. You must become the authority your future can trust. Let's break this down. Why leadership begins with you. You already lead something. You lead your household. You lead your team. You lead your clients. You lead your income. You lead your decisions. You lead your habits. You lead your financial future. But the question is not if you are leading. The question is how you are leading. Do you lead yourself like a professional with structure, logic, discipline, and follow-through? Or do you lead yourself like an amateur with mood, impulse, emotion, and chaos? Most people lead themselves emotionally and then wonder why their results are inconsistent. You must stop letting your emotions lead your life. You must lead your life with your standards. Because here is the truth. People don't follow what you say. People follow what you model. And your brain is no different. Your subconscious mind follows what you model for yourself every day. When you show yourself discipline, your brain trusts you. When you show yourself stability, your brain trusts you. When you show yourself to be consistent, your brain trusts you. But when you break your own word, when you avoid your own responsibilities, when you collapse under pressure, when you follow your mood instead of your mission, your brain stops taking you seriously. Your confidence erodes. Your authority disappears. You cannot lead what does not trust you. To build wealth, you must become someone your future respects. The 4 laws of self-leadership. Let's break self-leadership down into 4 laws. Master these laws, and you will never again be ruled by emotion. Law number 1, your standards create your identity. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You rise to the level of your standards. Your standards determine what you tolerate, what you reject, what you allow, what you execute, what do you finish. Your standards must be higher than your emotions. Your emotions can fluctuate. Your standards cannot. Ask yourself, what is the minimum level of discipline I demand from myself daily? And then live at that level, no negotiations. You don't need to feel motivated, you need to uphold the standard. Law number 2, your decisions shape your direction. Every decision you make is a vote for your future identity. Every time you choose the disciplined action, you become the disciplined person. Every time you choose the emotional action, you reinforce the emotional person. Action creates identity. Identity drives action. This is a powerful loop, and you must take control of the loop. Make decisions based on the person you want to be, not the emotion you want to avoid. You have a choice. Follow your future or follow your feelings. Choose your future. Law number 3, your calm is your power. People think calm comes naturally to leaders. Calm is trained. Calm is engineered. Calm is built through the disciplines you have been practicing throughout this audiobook. The pause, the distance, the story kill, the trigger training, the system over emotion principle, the boring consistency. Calm is not the absence of emotion. Calm is control of emotion. When chaos rises, calm is authority. When pressure rises, calm is leadership. When fear rises, calm is a strategy. The world trusts the calm. The world follows the calm. The world pays the calm. Your calm is your currency. Law number 4, your execution is your proof. You want confidence? Earn it. You want authority? Build it. You want self-respect? Execute. People ask, how do I become confident? You execute on what you promised yourself. Confidence is not a feeling. Confidence is evidence. You must show yourself daily that you do what you say you will do. You must prove to yourself that you are dependable. You must build a track record in your own mind. This is how leaders are formed, not through emotion, through evidence. Evidence builds identity. Identity builds power. Power builds wealth. And it all begins with execution. The self-leadership protocol. Here is the simple framework wealthy leaders use to lead themselves. 1. Set 3 non-negotiables daily. These are not goals. These are commands. They get done whether you feel like it or not. 2. Protect the first hour. Start your day with discipline, action, focus. 0 emotion, 0 reaction. This is how leaders begin. 3. Speak the standard out loud. Your subconscious obeys spoken language. Say, today, I lead myself. Today, my standards win. Today, my emotions follow me, not the other way around. Train your identity verbally. 4. End the day with accountability. Did you execute? Did you lead? Did you follow your standards? Leaders review, followers forget. Stop forgetting. This is the moment your transformation becomes permanent. A wealthy future does not require luck. It requires leadership. Your leadership. You cannot build extraordinary outcomes with ordinary self-leadership. You cannot build long-term stability with short-term emotional thinking. You cannot become financially powerful until you become emotionally powerful. You have a choice. Lead yourself or lose yourself. Control your emotions or be controlled by them, become your own authority, or keep surrendering it. This entire audiobook has led to one truth. The quality of your wealth will never exceed the quality of your self-leadership. Everything you want begins with one decision, the decision to lead yourself first. And now that you understand this, now that you have built emotional distance, now that you have mastered the pause, now that you have killed the story, now that you understand the cost, now that you have trained your triggers, now that you act instead of react, now that you control fear and greed, now that you choose stability over stimulation, you are ready, truly ready. Ready for the final powerful shift that completes this entire transformation. You learned to lead yourself. Now learn to challenge yourself. Listen carefully, because this is the moment everything changes. You have spent your entire life giving your power away to fear, to doubt, to impulse, to other people's expectations, to stories that were never true, to emotions that never deserved authority. And still, you survived. Imagine what happens when you stop surviving and start leading. You now know the truth. Your feelings are not facts. Your reactions are not reality. Your triggers are not destiny. You are not obligated to follow the emotion that shows up first. You are not required to obey the fear that whispers in your ear. You are not defined by the chaos you once considered normal. You have a choice. And now you finally know how to choose. Choose emotional authority. Choose discipline over drama. Choose clarity over chaos. Choose strategy over impulse. Choose boring consistency over exciting sabotage. Choose long-term power over short-term relief. From this moment forward, you do not react, you respond. You do not panic, you pause. You do not follow fear, you follow the plan. You do not chase greed, you follow the data. You do not wait for confidence, you create it through execution. You do not negotiate with your standards, you uphold them. That is emotional mastery. That is leadership. That is the psychology of wealth. If you apply even 10% of what you learned here, your life will change. If you apply it all, your identity will change, your income will change, your opportunities will change, your relationships will change, your future will change. And if you want to continue this transformation, the next audiobook you should listen to is The Skill of Saying No Protecting Your Time and Energy for Wealth Creation. It's the perfect continuation of everything you learned here because emotional mastery is impossible without boundaries, and wealth is impossible without protecting your time. And one more thing, as a thank you for listening, you can download the free ebook version of this audiobook, the complete text, directly from the top comment pinned below. Go get it. Get yours. Now here is your final challenge. Lead yourself for the next 24 hours. No emotional shortcuts, no impulsive decisions, no negotiations with your discipline. Prove to your future that you are in control. If you're ready for the next level of mastery, subscribe right now. Join the people who rise. Join the people who build. Join the people who refuse to let emotion run their lives. Your life is waiting, but it will not wait forever. Take it.